Okay, well, I'm going to record this, all right? All right, do you fight with stress? Emotions that you seem to have no control over? Are you searching and looking every day for relief? I know you are. Maybe you're scouring the self-help section of books, and you're finding the books and videos that seem to understand exactly how you feel inside, but you never get the whole answer to resolve it. A lot of people are looking at the subconscious mind as the root of all their problems, when the reality is the subconscious mind is only doing the job it's supposed to do. It stores the information that it's collected over time, and you can actually change that anytime you want to. We know that now. Our universe is a multi-diverse, complex thing, and it repeats itself over and over in patterns and cycles and numbers and symbols, indicating an intelligence that we're all aware of on some level or another. The overload of information in the subconscious mind can actually block, it can be a block to divine intelligence. The subconscious holds on to information that it's going to think is useful. It symbolizes something to us in our lives, and when that information gets read over and over, we believe it as a truth. It becomes a part of who we are instead of something that happened in the course of our life. The information is a part of our brain in the form of neural pathways, and in our cells in the form of neuropeptides. And we get sent back to this information when the body and mind are looking to help you get through a situation. It's kind of the go-to information. So our subconscious can feel like some sort of universal intelligence. It sends out information, and we get information from it. The information seems to come from nowhere, and it sends you into action on autopilot, we call it. We think of it sometimes as an intuition, but if this intuition is in polarity, that is not intuition, and it's not universal intelligence or divine intelligence. Now, we tend to think of the subconscious stuff as always bad, but it gives us a good too. The subconscious gives us a good too. So if it's a positive, something good that feels right, and it gets you to the place that you want to go, you don't seem to mind. If it doesn't feel good, or you notice that you're not doing the things that you want to do, and you're finding the things that you want are not happening, you become aware of frustrations and emotions that make you feel even more blocked and unbalanced. It is the feeling of the repeated negative emotions that reaps the non-beneficial cycles in our lives. Does that make sense? We take notice of it, and in the moment, you start to do the thing that you least want to do. Now, here's the deal. Your brain doesn't know the difference, good or bad. It only gives you back what it's been given and has been stored. And as a being that learns and understands based on environmental influence, how do you know until you know? That's the tricky part. The cells of your body release the feeling by way of learned emotion from past incidents. The neuropeptides are that information. And so we allow the information of our brain and of ourselves, even from a conscious standpoint, to rule who we are, even when we know. And then we define ourselves. And from a subconscious standpoint, it's like life just happens. Sometimes we say, God's got it out for me, or the universal intelligence is somehow defining your life. On a conscious level, we tell ourselves all kinds of things from the polarity that we know as our world. These are the things that we've learned and consider about ourselves and our world as truths, beliefs, or even just the way things are. And you'll hear it in the form of yes and no, true and false, good and bad, right and wrong, should and shouldn't, do and don't, can and can't, will and won't. It's the way you think because of what you know from a level of subconscious. It's what you've learned. And it's what we allow and what we acknowledge as truth. But it's polarity, and it's from our brain. While that can feel like universal intelligence, that feeling will throw you off because it is not universal intelligence. This is learned knowledge from other beings who learned before us. Knowledge based on what they knew at the time. And as we tend to say, they were just doing the best they could. But no matter what was going on, it's how we learn to become who we are based on what other fallible humans knew, based on other fallible human knowledge. Whether this knowledge is truly relevant to the situation at hand or not doesn't seem to matter. But you take it on as truth. And because you don't know any other way, you start to define yourself based on that. Here's the truth. You have unlimited possibilities. The field of potential is wide open, and you can choose anything you want to in this life. But it is defined by your beliefs. The definition of how you see the realm of possibility is defined by your beliefs, and the number of possibilities dwindle based on how you're defined. And you will point outside of yourself and blame others and yell at God, but it's really by your own belief system and what you've learned in that space of your past. The truth is, there are still, even in your arena of belief, multiple possibilities. You just have to recognize them and claim them and move into them, and then do what's required to make it a reality. Does that make sense? So how can I transform my state of being? How do I know the difference? How can I know that I know? People ask this all the time. One way is to catch yourself speaking in polarities and then say it a different way. Do something different. Those polarities are a signal of where you are. Subconscious or conscious, being in polarity will cause stress, discord, and issues in your life. This is where we start teaching heart coherence and staying inside that space of the heart that opens you up and propels you into a whole different circumstance with divine intelligence, with your upper state of yourself. So, for some of us, the roadblocks are a serious issue. The emotional attachments that keep us connected to the past that you no longer live in are a serious issue. Getting rid of old emotional garbage will only take you so far. And we've done that for years, trying to get rid of the old emotional garbage. All the techniques we have to get rid of it, to get rid of it. At some point, you have to connect with that higher part of you. You have to connect with God. You have to connect with this universal intelligence that sees and knows all of this from a different plane of reality. If this resonates with you and you know what I'm talking about, isn't it wonderful? And it is. But for those of you who know what I'm talking about, but it feels like a yearning or a longing that is just out of your reach, you just haven't found a way to get there yet. And that's what I'm working on teaching people now, is how to have that soul progression. It's a progression. We're tired of regressing. We're tired of getting rid of old emotions. We're tired of playing the game of what else was there and trying to understand the whys of why it happened the way it happened. That stuff doesn't really matter. We're in a new period of time that dictates you find a different way to feel and leverage that vibration. That's what this is really all about. And had we known that all along, that's what we would have been doing. So you have to leverage the vibration. You have to find this higher vibration and then hang on to it. And when you do that, what will happen is you will come into a new state of self. You will come into a new state of knowing, because you start to know that higher part of you. You start to be able to see and hear and understand things differently, because in a state of cortisol, in a state of stress, it doesn't look the same as it does in the state of oxytocin. It just doesn't. And on the other side of that are these amazing vibrations and frequencies that when you can hang on to those and learn those into your system, all of this just seems to change. And that's what I do. That's what I help people with every day. And I want to help you find it. I know you've tried everything. I know you have. I get it. We are in a different age, and in this new period, it requires fast results and connections that go far beyond your subconscious mind. These man-made techniques only go so far. Protocols that work at the iceberg level only take you so far. So I'm opening